As a segue into the next concept we're going to cover, and let me move this aside, and that will be our concept 513, right? So we're still on 512, and if you look at 513 is going to talk about else clause for loops. All right, so if you can do if conditions within loops, we can certainly do else conditions within loops. And I'm gonna just write the very quick while loop here, and then see how else conditions can be used. So while, let's do while count. Well, we need to set count first before we're using count. So we always want to initialize count equals 0 while count less than 15. All right, we want to go ahead and do something now with count. And what we're going to do here with count is we're just simply going to print count on the screen. So let's print count on the screen. Now we know if we're printing count on the screen, we're going to go ahead and increment count again. All right, one. So we increment count by 1. But so let's just see what we've written here. Very simple. We've done this many times by now. While count is less than 15, print count, increment count by 1. So it's just simply going to print from 1 to 15. All right, but what if that condition is not met? All right, so we can throw in an else condition, because if you think about it, this is simply an if statement. We're simply saying count less than 15. Is that true? Do something. And if you have an if statement, guys, you can always accompany that with an else condition. And similarly, we can throw in an else condition here and say, well, what if this condition that we're seeing up here is not met? What should we do? What if count is not less than 15? All right, what do we do? What do we print on the screen? That's what we're gonna figure out now. All right, and we can throw in now a print condition here and say print something, and say value of count is has reached, and then we can of course always concatenate something in there and say has reached a string of count. All right, let's just convert that to a string, and if we run this, it's gonna count from 0 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 14, because we're counting to 14, and then it's gonna can't count anymore, and then it breaks and then prints this. All right, so let's go ahead and see that. Now you see, once it reaches that, it goes into that break, which is the else, and then it prints the value of count has reached 15. All right, so very similar to the way we use if statements, guys. We can also, and if and else conditions, we can use else within while conditions. So we had if something, and then do something else, do something. Now we're saying while something is true, do something else. If that's not true anymore, do something else. So while, and it's a very powerful statement, and combination with else, guys, there's a lot that you can do to break out of the loops that you might find yourself in. And if we can do if you can do else in while conditions, we can equally do that in for loops. So I'm gonna do a quick for loop here, change that to a 5, so we don't print a lot on the screen. All right, and then I'm gonna say let's just modify this on the fly, say for x in range. Let's make that range what? Guys, give me a number in the comment section. What should we make this range? All right, 5. Is 5 a good number? All right, I think 5 is a good number. So let's say print let's make this count, just so I'm not changing a lot. All right, print count. Otherwise so we're gonna go ahead and print count. Otherwise we want to else, we want to go ahead and print this. I'm just gonna leave the syntax exactly the same, just so that nothing changes. So 0 1 2 3 4, and then we've reached that. Now this next one, where is a for loop, again behaving the same. So whether we're looking at the while statement here or we're looking at the for condition, we're still achieving the same result on the screen. So this is the for loop printing the same thing. This is the while statement printing the same thing. All right, guys, very powerful. For loops, while loops, while something is true until it reaches a criteria, do something. False statement says for every instance of a particular variable, you can do some checks and break out of it or continue doing what you're doing if it makes sense. All right, guys. So this is gonna take us as a segue into the next topic.